Devil Hunter's Chainsaw Man chapter 136 titled Ordinary Life. Dare I say it, a little bit boring chapter. There's not a lot to say with 14 pages, but you know what? I will say on the upside, I went to a convention recently and I got this Fox Devil beanie. Look at this. I'm just gonna wear it for the rest of the review. Rip acquired. Oh, and look at this, a power play mat. And then there's mommy right here. And the sneak peek preview for Chainsaw Man Volume 15 finally came out, and who's on the cover? It's going to be, voila, Chef Mommy. Of course it had to have been Chef Mommy. I don't know who else it would be. Look at the colors. I love how they contrast here. And if you notice right behind Chef Mommy, the falling devil, there is a big red blood moon. Now, what could a blood moon symbolize? It's a little subtle foreshadowing into the end of the world or alluding to Nostradamus' prophecies. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about this ordinary chapter where a depressed Denji is approached by a student at his locker. After noticing Chainsaw Man's t-shirt, the student berates him, telling him that there's a theory of how Asa is supposedly responsible for all of the recent heroics, and if Denji is supporting Chainsaw Man, then he is thereby supporting a victimizer. I really hate people like that guy with the glasses, so unfortunately he's the one that didn't get punched in the face, because someone who was talking smack about Chainsaw Man, you hear this guy from a distance assuming it was Denji and this kid, and well, this kid went out and tried to knock out Denji, which, come on, my guy, what do you think was going to happen? Sadly, Denji's at the principal's office being chastised by him, and then dealing a real low blow to Denji as he states that Denji's the one who started the fight because he grew up without parents, or, you know, just being an orphan in general, which, wow, man, I swear, there's this stereotype between responsible adults who just looks down at high school students all the time. Yu Yu Hakusho is the first thing that comes to mind, but regardless, as Denji leaves, the principal remarks that the other student was quote-unquote hospitalized by Denji's attack, and assuming that part is true, Denji retorts by saying, well, hey dude, the guy lost a tooth, he'll be okay. And Chainsaw Man's favorite ambiguous character arrives, Yoshida, where him and Denji are spending the day at a movie theater together. And well, if we know Fujimoto, or if you know many of Fujimoto's works, movie theaters and Fujimoto go together like peanut butter and jelly. At the movies, Yoshida remarks that they're not having too much fun, which ironically, isn't that the whole point of what Yoshida was trying to reinforce? I mean, yes, threatening Nayata was one thing, but you're not really doing a good job. I mean, he does a good job a little bit later, and we'll talk about that in a second. I don't think Yoshida really necessarily cares about Denji's feelings here, but whether this plays to Yoshida's aloofness, skipping class to go to the movie theaters, or saying, look how extraordinary your life can be when Denji looks anything but that, not really helping you out, my man. However, Denji chastises him for talking during the movies, and then he goes on to talk about how there's nobody else at the theater due to a devil attack from a squid-like devil. But thanks to the theater's employed devil hunters, it only took 2 minutes for the entire conflict to be resolved. And Yoshida goes on to tell Denji, hey, it's not like you're the protagonist of a movie or anything, wink wink, and that the world will move on without him. But again, this is a little bit confusing because, as I stated in last week's chapter, Denji at this point is an icon. He is the one who defeated the gun devil. Even if he disappeared today until the end of time, much like the gun devil being this huge devil that victimized the world in some major incident a long time ago, the Chainsaw Man, the persona of Chainsaw Man, isn't going to be forgotten by anyone. Unless, of course, you are the pure black Chainsaw Man who eats and devours devils, and then at that point, the Nazis become non-existent, nuclear weapons become non-existent, etc. But you get what I'm trying to say here. So from Yoshida's point of view, again, he's not really doing a good job into caring how Denji feels about all this. Hell, there's even a point in the chapter before Yoshida leaves as the girl's making her way in, and Denji asks what he experienced today was normal, and Yoshida says, yes, it is. Ordinary life from this chapter, from this POV, looks so mundane and boring. Why would anyone give up to be Chainsaw Man at this point if this is what normal was going to be considered from now until the day they die? It just, man, I think Yoshida's just doing a horrible job, but maybe that's the point Fujimoto wants us to show, that rationally and intellectually, Yoshida just thinks on many different levels, or he knocks it out of the park in those departments. But when it comes to understanding a person, when it comes to understanding human emotion in general, that, well, he's really horrible at doing that. But now let's go ahead and talk about the girl who sits next to Denji, as Denji wallow in his own thoughts and tells her straight up, hey, I'm not 100% myself. I apologize in advance. I am a pretty extraordinary guy, but you know, I just kind of want to sulk by myself. And well, this girl, hey, you know, baby girl, she starts touching Denji in places that, well, I think any guy would most likely blush in any scenario. And right off the bat, let's go ahead and just nip in the butt that theory of, is this the death devil? The better question you guys need to be asking yourselves is this how you would want the Death Devil to be introduced? We know Fujimoto's quirky. Yes, we know Fujimoto loves to have fun and make jokes about many different things in Chainsaw Man. I'm not going to rule the possibility that it couldn't be the Death Devil, but this is not how I would want the final horseman to be introduced. And despite her eyes having like this spiral-like design, you know, it would be funny if at this point now it was like the intimacy devil or something like that, and then Fujimoto can have more fun with that, because the girl seemingly doing this is definitely under Yoshida's accord. Shame on Yoshida for trying to exploit Denji's weaknesses, but as I mentioned before, Makima has stated to Denji, touch feels better the more you know someone, so even if this may feel good or a bit awkward, because how would you react in a moment like this when a stranger just comes by and greets you with this formality? I think Denji just going to brush it aside. But all this to say, if you're asking if I think this is the Death Devil, no, I don't think this is the Death Devil. It would be funny if it is like an intimacy devil, and what theatrics Fujimoto can come up with that, even hinting with Denji getting intimate with the girl later on, as this now could create a love triangle between Asa and Denji when, you know, she ends up finding the truth that Denji is Chainsaw Man all along. That could be some fun. But if there's one thing we can all predict, is that we never know where Fujimoto is going to take Chainsaw Man. And although chapter 136, Ordinary Life, really showed us the mundane living of what Denji's life could be if he gave up the Chainsaw Man persona, I feel like this chapter wasn't necessarily needed. Like, discreetly and indirectly, the last two chapters I think was already showing us what Denji was experiencing, and he didn't want to live a mundane life. Look, if we got Denji living a mundane life in chapter 136, that's fine, but let's go ahead and please move along towards the plot, because I think I really would have loved to have seen how Fami and Yoshida would have been reacting in this chapter instead, or better yet, who's the fake Chainsaw Man, or better yet, and it's Kishibe allowing what Yoshida's doing here with Denji. We'll talk more into live action later on today, but hey, season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen is out right now, and if you want to see the full story of Gojo's past arc, you're going to want to click on this video right here.